January 17, 1940. Dover, England. The coastal guns braced along the cliffs, each turret ready. One British gunner adjusted his sights, eyes scanning the horizon. The faint hum of approaching aircraft broke the tense silence. 3 German Messerschmitt fighters appeared, cutting through the morning air with deadly precision. The gunner's hand moved instinctively. Fingers tightened on the trigger. Each aircraft drew closer, weaving a pattern meant to test the defenses. Shells began to fall around them, shaking the gun emplacement. His training took over. Every calculation, every measured breath was honed by countless drills. In a matter of seconds, he lined up the first target. The gun fired. Steel tore through the air. One fighter spiraled down, leaving a trail of smoke. Without pause, he shifted to the second. Another shot, another plane out of the sky. The third fighter banked sharply, attempting to escape, but the gunner's aim remained true. 3 enemy fighters destroyed in seconds. The emplacement echoed with the roar of guns and the sudden quiet that followed. Men around him barely breathed, stunned by the speed and precision. The moment hung heavy. This was no luck. This was skill, training, and courage converging in an instant. By early 1940, Britain's air defenses were in a state of heightened alert. The threat from the Luftwaffe had been clear since the fall of Poland in September 1939. Britain had mobilized every available fighter squadron, anti-aircraft battery, and coastal gun to defend its shores. Dover, a key point along the channel, was critical. Its guns protected shipping lanes, supply routes, and the southern coastline. Any lapse in vigilance could allow enemy aircraft to strike vital targets. The Royal Artillery had positioned heavy and medium coastal guns along cliffs and harbors. Each emplacement was manned by experienced gunners trained for rapid engagement. These crews drilled continuously, preparing for attacks by fast-moving aircraft. Every crew member knew their role. Coordination between radar posts, observers, and gun teams was paramount. British strategy emphasized speed, accuracy, and discipline. Mistakes were costly, hesitation could mean lives lost and territory compromised. Meanwhile, the Luftwaffe was expanding its reach. German reconnaissance flights over the Channel had increased. Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Bf-110s frequently probed the coast. These fighters were fast, agile, and armed with machine guns capable of overwhelming unprepared positions. British intelligence monitored these movements closely. The Royal Air Force provided air cover, but gaps remained. Coastal gunners often faced the first wave of attack, relying on their skill and quick reactions to defend both the guns and the coast. Training emphasized split-second decision-making. Gunners studied aircraft silhouettes, speed, and likely attack angles. Simulations replicated combat conditions, multiple targets, overlapping flight paths, and varying distances. Each scenario taught crews to act instinctively. In Dover, this preparation was not theoretical. Early skirmishes had tested the gunners' resolve. Reports from the first encounters with German reconnaissance planes confirmed what officers already suspected: those who hesitated were exposed. Every second counted. Beyond the technical preparations, morale was critical. The war in Europe had created anxiety across Britain, but also a determined resolve. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen understood that defending the homeland required vigilance, courage, and precision. News of early Luftwaffe attacks elsewhere had spread quickly. Coastal gunners faced the knowledge that their performance might determine whether an enemy flight succeeded or failed. The stakes were personal and national. Dover's location made it an ideal defensive point and a prime target. German planners recognized its importance, aiming to weaken Britain's coastal defenses before attempting larger operations. Intelligence reports indicated that Messerschmitt formations would attempt to test the guns, measuring reaction times and targeting accuracy. Each flight that approached the coast represented both a threat and an opportunity to gauge British preparedness. The Royal Artillery understood this. Every gunner knew that a single decisive moment could change the outcome of an encounter. The gunner in our opening scene was part of this system. He had trained for months, memorizing aircraft profiles and engagement tactics. His emplacement was equipped with the latest fire control instruments, allowing rapid adjustments for speed and distance. Observers relayed positions and calculated trajectories, but the final action rested on human skill. When the German fighters appeared, the responsibility to act fell squarely on the crew, and particularly on the gunner whose eyes scanned the horizon, hands steady on the trigger. In the seconds before the engagement, the coastal gun crews relied on intuition and muscle memory. They could not afford delay. British command had drilled the principle that accuracy under pressure could save lives and territory. It was this combination of preparation, training, and discipline that set the stage for the gunners' extraordinary performance. The following moments were not a product of luck, but the culmination of a national system designed for precision in crisis. The situation was tense. Dover remained a front line not of land, but of air. Each approaching aircraft was a test. The gunners were ready, the Germans were approaching, and the stage was set for the split-second decisions that would define the outcome. The coastal defenses at Dover were a network of interlocking positions. Heavy guns sat alongside medium and light artillery, forming a layered shield against enemy aircraft. Observation posts relayed information to gun crews using telephones and signal flags. Radar had been installed at key points, but its coverage was still limited. Gunners relied on both technology and their own eyes. Every decision needed to be swift and precise. British units were meticulously organized. The Royal Artillery manned each emplacement with teams of trained specialists. One officer commanded the gun, another coordinated spotting, while the rest loaded shells and tracked targets. Each member knew the importance of timing. Coordination between these crews was critical, especially when facing multiple incoming fighters. Dover's guns had already faced minor skirmishes with German reconnaissance planes, testing their readiness under pressure. The Luftwaffe's tactics were evolving. German pilots often flew in small, coordinated groups to probe weaknesses. Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Bf-110s could maneuver aggressively, forcing gunners to adjust angles rapidly. The German goal was not always immediate destruction. Sometimes, their flights were designed to distract or draw out British responses, providing intelligence on defensive patterns. Understanding these patterns allowed British gunners to anticipate attacks and react faster than the enemy expected. Training focused on speed and accuracy under duress. Crews drilled on multiple target engagements, shifting fire between aircraft without hesitation. Spotters called distances and angles. Gunners calculated corrections in fractions of a second. The British emphasis on precision contrasted with the German approach of aggressive strafing runs. Dover gunners were taught to remain calm, make every shot count, and trust their instincts honed through months of rigorous preparation. Leadership played a decisive role. Each gun emplacement was overseen by an officer responsible not only for firing solutions but also for morale and communication. Officers ensured that crews remained focused even as incoming aircraft tested nerves. Orders were clear: protect the guns, protect the coast, and neutralize threats efficiently. Discipline and chain of command allowed gunners to act decisively, even when split-second decisions determined success or failure. At the human level, the crews were acutely aware of the stakes. Each German aircraft that appeared over the channel carried the potential to disrupt supply lines, damage infrastructure, or threaten civilian areas. The gunner's role was as much about protecting lives as defending strategic positions. Stories of early skirmishes underscored the importance of vigilance. Hesitation could mean disaster. The tension was constant, but so was the confidence that training instilled. By January 17, 1940, Dover had become a microcosm of Britain's broader war effort. It was a testing ground for tactics, technology, and human resolve. Each incoming plane was a challenge to both skill and nerve. The gunner in our story had trained for these exact moments, his instincts sharpened by months of preparation and past encounters with enemy aircraft. He was part of a system that combined observation, communication, and firepower in a way that few other nations could replicate at the time. The German fighters approaching Dover that day were not merely random intruders. They represented a probing force, seeking weaknesses in Britain's defenses. The gunners' ability to respond swiftly and accurately would determine the outcome of this encounter. Every second mattered. Every calculation, every action, could mean the difference between destruction and survival. The gunners' focus in those critical seconds was absolute. Years of training had forged a reflexive response to threats, but the human element remained central. Fear was present, yet controlled. Each decision, when to fire, how to shift aim, how to anticipate movement, relied on muscle memory and sharp instincts. The gunners' eyes tracked 3 fast-approaching Messerschmitts, calculating their speed and trajectory in milliseconds. Stress tested endurance. Nearby crew members synchronized with him, shouting adjustments, loading shells, and maintaining calm under pressure. The human dimension was a balance between individual skill and team cohesion. Even the most advanced equipment depended on the people operating it. One lapse could allow enemy fighters to escape or inflict damage. Dover's gunners were trained to compartmentalize fear, turning anxiety into precision. At the core, it was courage in action. The gunners' ability to act decisively under life-threatening circumstances exemplified the psychological preparation behind Britain's defensive strategies. These moments were fleeting yet consequential, highlighting the importance of mental discipline in combat. Every heartbeat counted. Every thought focused on the immediate task, neutralized the threat before it struck. The British coastal defense system relied on layered tactics designed to counter agile air attacks. Guns were positioned to cover overlapping zones of fire, ensuring no enemy approach went unchecked. Observation posts and rudimentary radar provided early warnings. Crews were trained to engage multiple targets sequentially, maintaining continuous suppression of enemy aircraft. In this scenario, the gunner applied these tactical principles instinctively. Priorities were set: identify the most immediate threat, engage efficiently, and adjust for the second and third targets without losing rhythm. Tactical doctrine emphasized split-second shifts, requiring constant awareness of both position and trajectory. Coordination was crucial. Each team member's action contributed to a larger system of defense. The gunners' individual decisions were amplified by the supporting roles of loaders, spotters, and commanding officers. Tactics were not just theoretical, they were lived through repeated drills and small skirmishes, refining responses for maximum efficiency. The guns themselves were engineered for speed and precision. British coastal artillery combined mechanical reliability with the ability to track moving targets accurately. Rangefinders calculated distance, gun carriages allowed rapid elevation changes. Shells were designed to detonate upon impact or proximity, maximizing destructive potential. Technology alone was insufficient. The gunners needed to synchronize human action with mechanical operation flawlessly. Adjusting for speed, distance, and angle required constant calculation. The gunner's ability to anticipate enemy maneuvers relied on understanding the limitations and capabilities of the weapon. Each mechanical response, turret rotation, shell loading, firing, was executed in perfect timing, demonstrating the integration of human skill with engineering excellence. From the German perspective, the approaching British coastline was a challenge. Pilots had been trained to exploit speed and maneuverability, hoping to identify weaknesses in defensive positions. The Messerschmitt fighters in this encounter were part of a probing mission, testing gun accuracy and reaction time. Each pilot relied on formation tactics, expecting to divide and confuse defenders. Yet, the British system was methodical. Dover's layered defenses, coupled with disciplined gunners, left little room for error. The enemy underestimated the level of preparation and human skill at each emplacement. The gunners' split-second reactions disrupted the planned attack, forcing the German fighters into evasive maneuvers. What should have been a coordinated strike became a fragmented engagement, highlighting the effectiveness of Britain's defensive training and tactical foresight. This interaction demonstrates that every British action had a direct counter to the enemy strategy. The gunner's role was not only to destroy planes but to maintain control of the defensive perimeter. Enemy aggression met precision, and the results were decisive. Time was an enemy in itself. The gunner had mere seconds to assess, aim, and fire 3 separate targets. Each moment of hesitation could allow the fighters to escape or retaliate. Pressure was amplified by the presence of the team, the stakes of national defense, and the knowledge that lives depended on accuracy. Handling this pressure required a balance of instinct and training. The gunner's body reacted faster than conscious thought. Every calculation, speed, distance, angle, was executed in microseconds. The intensity of the moment forced clarity. Stress sharpened focus, transforming tension into precise action. This human capacity to perform under extreme pressure was a cornerstone of British coastal defence doctrine, proving critical when facing multiple simultaneous threats. Precision defined the engagement. The gunner needed to engage targets that were moving unpredictably, each at different distances and speeds. Calculations for trajectory, timing, and shell selection were executed almost instinctively. One error could mean a missed shot, or worse, a successful enemy attack. British artillery was designed for accuracy, but it required skilled operation. The gunner's expertise ensured that every round counted. The ability to track multiple fighters, shift aim seamlessly, and fire in rapid succession exemplified the integration of human skill and mechanical capability. Precision was not optional, it was the difference between success and catastrophe. In those seconds, mastery of technique and timing became the defining factor in survival and victory. January 17, 1940. Dover's coastal guns braced for the encounter. The gunner stood at his post, eyes fixed on the distant horizon. 3 German Messerschmitt Bf 109 sliced through the air, closing the distance with precision and speed. The roar of engines cut through the silence of the cliffs. The gunner's hand tightened on the trigger, mind calculating trajectories with practiced instinct. The first fighter approached at an angle that suggested a strafing run along the shoreline. Spotters called out corrections, altitude, speed, and distance. The gunner adjusted the elevation of the gun. Shells were loaded and ready. Time compressed. In a single, fluid motion, the gun fired. The round struck true. The Messerschmitt's wing caught fire. Smoke trailed as the plane spiraled downward, striking the waters near the coast. Crew members exchanged glances, the first sign of success already fueling adrenaline. No pause followed. The second fighter was already banking into the gunner's line of sight, attempting to evade the initial salvo. The gunner shifted rapidly, recalibrating for speed and angle. Every calculation was automatic. He fired. The round hit the fuselage near the engine. Flames erupted. The aircraft wobbled, then went into a sharp dive. Seconds passed, each one measured, each one weighted by life or death. The third fighter, recognizing the fate of its companions, attempted evasive maneuvers, banking sharply and accelerating. The gunner anticipated the movement. He adjusted the gun carriage with precision, accounting for distance and relative velocity. The shell launched and struck the aircraft amidships. It twisted in the air, smoke trailing, before crashing against the cliffside below. 3 enemy planes destroyed in seconds. The gun emplacement fell into a brief silence. The human toll of the confrontation was clear. Intense focus, skill, and training had converted a moment of extreme danger into decisive action. Observers reported the rapid destruction of the aircraft. This was not random luck. It was the culmination of preparation, instinct, and mechanical precision. Officers on site quickly documented the event. Every angle, every shot, every reaction was noted. This decisive engagement would later be referenced in reports on coastal defense effectiveness. The gunners had executed the principles drilled into them: anticipate, act decisively, and maintain composure under pressure. For the gunner, the adrenaline subsided slowly. The sensory overload of engines, gunfire, and smoke faded, replaced by a heightened awareness of the larger battlefield. Dover remained under threat. German forces would continue probing, testing defenses. But in those few critical seconds, the balance had shifted. British skill had met enemy aggression and won. The precision and speed displayed underscored the training doctrine of the Royal Artillery. Every shot, every adjustment, was rehearsed in simulations and drills. The gunner had become an extension of the weapon system itself, translating calculated thought into lethal action. This moment exemplified the integration of human skill, mechanical reliability, and tactical doctrine. As reports spread along the coastal defense network, confidence surged. Crews understood that disciplined preparation could overcome even the most aggressive enemy tactics. The destruction of 3 fighters in such rapid succession served as a powerful validation of Britain's defensive strategy and the capabilities of its personnel. The engagement also highlighted the psychological impact on both sides. German pilots would recall the precision and decisiveness of the British gunners. For the British, it reinforced the importance of composure, skill, and teamwork. Moments like these shaped morale, influencing the broader conduct of coastal defense operations. The seconds that had determined the outcome now echoed in training reports and officer briefings. This was the pivot, the moment when preparation met execution. The scene set the stage for a wider understanding of how individual skill and national doctrine intersected in the crucible of battle. The dust of gunfire settled along Dover's cliffs. The 3 Messerschmitt fighters had been neutralized, their wreckage a stark testament to split-second precision. The gunner's hands still gripped the trigger, muscles tense from the rapid sequence of actions. Around him, crew members exhaled slowly, adrenaline still coursing. The enormity of what had occurred sank in. Observers at nearby emplacements had witnessed the destruction. Reports were relayed immediately to command. Officers recorded the engagement in meticulous detail, times of firing, trajectory adjustments, and target outcomes. Dover's coastal guns had proven effective, not only in mechanical operation but in human execution. The British system had functioned exactly as designed. The German pilots, attempting to regroup or escape, were forced into a series of evasive maneuvers. Messerschmitt formations that had hoped to test defensive gaps now faced the reality of Britain's preparedness. The engagement disrupted enemy tactics, leaving pilots wary of aggressive approaches. What had been a probing mission became a costly setback. British precision had reshaped the immediate aerial battlefield. The gunners' split-second actions demonstrated the integration of training, technology, and instinct. Each calculation made in milliseconds, angle, speed, distance, had been executed flawlessly. The effectiveness of the gun depended on the human element, the ability to interpret data, anticipate movement, and act decisively. Dover's guns had done more than destroy enemy aircraft. They had reinforced the confidence of all personnel along the coast. Nearby units responded to the outcome. Communication lines buzzed with updates, reinforcing morale across the defensive network. Officers briefed other gunners on tactics employed during the engagement, ensuring lessons were absorbed immediately. This ripple effect amplified the impact of a single gunner's decisive action, demonstrating how individual skill could influence broader operational readiness. Psychologically, the effect was profound. British crews recognized that discipline, training, and teamwork could overcome even rapid, aggressive attacks. For German forces, the encounter became a cautionary tale. British coastal gunners were prepared, skilled, and lethal in execution. Dover was no longer merely a defensive position, it had become a proving ground for human and mechanical precision under extreme pressure. The gunners' calm after action highlighted the importance of composure. Even in the chaos of battle, the ability to maintain focus, follow procedure, and execute strategy defined success. Reports emphasized that this was not an isolated moment of skill, it reflected months of preparation, doctrine adherence, and rigorous drills. The result was predictable in its excellence, yet extraordinary in its immediacy. As the last echoes of artillery faded, Dover's defensive line remained unbroken. German reconnaissance flights would continue, but the balance had shifted. Britain's gunners had demonstrated their capability to repel attacks with deadly efficiency. The engagement confirmed the principle that preparation, skill, and courage under fire could decisively shape the outcome of even the briefest encounter. The gunner, briefly alone with his thoughts, understood the gravity of his role. Each engagement carried weight, each decision mattered. Dover had been tested, and it had held. The seconds of concentrated action now flowed into the larger context of Britain's wartime strategy, illustrating how individual heroism intersected with national defense. With the immediate threat neutralized, attention turned to assessment, documentation, and preparation for future engagements. The lessons learned in these seconds would inform tactics, training, and the continued evolution of coastal defense. This decisive action, though fleeting in time, would resonate across the broader operational landscape. The guns at Dover fell silent, but the significance of the engagement lingered. British officers immediately documented the encounter, detailing the destruction of 3 Messerschmitt fighters in seconds. Each trajectory, each calculated adjustment, and each outcome was recorded with precision. This report would later become a reference in assessments of coastal artillery effectiveness. Within the Royal Artillery, the gunners' actions were hailed as a demonstration of training realized in practice. Colleagues studied the sequence, noting how preparation, anticipation, and calm under pressure combined to produce extraordinary results. Manuals and drill protocols were revisited, emphasizing the importance of rapid target acquisition and sequential firing under duress. Dover had not merely survived an attack, it had set a benchmark for operational excellence. The immediate operational impact was tangible. German reconnaissance formations were forced to reconsider their approach paths. The destruction of 3 fighters in quick succession reduced the Luftwaffe's confidence in probing British coastal defenses. Reports from enemy sources indicated increased caution, fewer aggressive strafing runs, and heightened respect for the gunners' capabilities. The British coastal network had asserted its dominance in a brief but decisive confrontation. Morale among the gunners and supporting units surged. Witnesses recalled the precision and calm exhibited during the engagement. Stories spread quickly along the Channel coast, illustrating the potential of disciplined training to achieve results that might have seemed improbable. Dover's defenders understood that their vigilance and skill could decisively shape the outcome of localized air engagements, protecting both infrastructure and civilian areas. Strategically, the engagement reinforced the broader doctrine of Britain's coastal defense system. Observers noted that rapid, accurate responses could disrupt enemy plans and protect critical points along the channel. The combination of layered artillery positions, coordinated observation posts, and disciplined crews had been proven effective under real-world conditions. This validation extended beyond Dover, influencing training and tactical planning across southern England. The engagement also highlighted the psychological dimension of warfare. British gunners, now confident in their capabilities, demonstrated resilience in subsequent encounters. Enemy pilots, on the other hand, were forced to acknowledge that British defenses were both lethal and precise. Dover had become a microcosm of the larger war effort, preparation, training, and skill converging to produce decisive, immediate results. Local reports and communications emphasized the broader importance of such victories. Each successful engagement reinforced the narrative of Britain's determination to defend its coastlines and maintain operational superiority. The gunners' split-second actions, while brief in duration, carried a lasting impact on both local defense and broader strategic considerations. In the hours following the encounter, crews maintained vigilance. Observers scanned the skies, ready to relay information for potential follow-up attacks. The lesson was clear: preparation could never cease, and each engagement demanded the same discipline and focus that had allowed 3 enemy aircraft to be destroyed in mere seconds. Dover had passed a test of skill, technology, and human resolve, and the outcome would shape British coastal defense thinking for weeks to come. The engagement at Dover left a lasting impression on both sides of the Channel. For British forces, it reinforced confidence in the integration of training, technology, and human skill. Crews reviewed reports in detail, analyzing the sequence of actions that had resulted in the destruction of 3 enemy fighters. Lessons learned were incorporated into future drills, ensuring that other gunners could replicate the rapid, precise responses demonstrated that day. Operationally, the encounter influenced subsequent Luftwaffe planning. German reconnaissance units approached Dover and other channel defenses with increased caution. They were aware that British gunners could anticipate maneuvers, adjust quickly, and execute repeated accurate fire. Intelligence reports later noted a decline in aggressive low-altitude strafing missions, signaling the deterrent effect of well-prepared artillery crews. Dover had become a testing ground whose lessons extended beyond local defense. The impact on British morale was equally significant. News of the engagement spread among artillery units and RAF support crews. Soldiers and officers saw the power of preparation and calm execution under pressure. The gunners' actions became emblematic of the effectiveness of the Royal Artillery, demonstrating that even in moments of extreme danger, disciplined training and teamwork could yield decisive results. Dover's defenders felt empowered, their confidence validated in a real-world scenario. Casualty and destruction reports were meticulously compiled. No British personnel were harmed during the engagement, and the German losses were clearly documented, 3 aircraft destroyed within seconds. This stark numerical outcome illustrated the tactical advantage held by Britain's coastal defences when combined with skilled personnel. Dover's guns were not merely defensive instruments. They were force multipliers, capable of influencing enemy behavior and shaping local air engagements decisively. Strategic consequences extended beyond the immediate encounter. British command recognized that rapid, accurate artillery could protect critical coastal infrastructure, shipping lanes, and supply routes. The engagement served as a case study in effective coordination between observation posts, gunners, and command officers. Dover's success became a model for other coastal positions, highlighting the importance of integrating human skill with mechanical and technological systems. Long-term, the engagement reinforced the principle that individual action could have outsized effects on broader operational outcomes. One gunner's precise reactions altered the dynamics of a German attack, saved infrastructure, and bolstered morale across the region. This was a demonstration of how small, calculated actions could influence the larger course of conflict. British forces recognized the value of maintaining rigorous standards of training and readiness, ensuring that every engagement could be met with the same level of skill and composure. The moment also shaped doctrine. Officers emphasized the importance of split-second decision-making, rapid recalibration for multiple targets, and the psychological preparedness required to act decisively under pressure. Dover's engagement became a benchmark, cited in training and strategy discussions as an example of the effective intersection of human skill, technology, and tactical doctrine. By the end of the day, Dover's coastal defenses remained intact and fully operational. German reconnaissance units had been repelled, and British confidence in the system was reinforced. The engagement had demonstrated, conclusively, that preparation, skill, and discipline could decisively influence the outcome of aerial confrontations, ensuring the continued defense of Britain's southern coastline. The seconds it took a single British gunner to destroy 3 enemy fighters illustrate the profound impact of preparation, discipline, and human skill in warfare. In that brief moment, months of training, rigorous drills, and strategic planning converged into decisive action. Dover was more than a coastal position, it was a proving ground for the effectiveness of Britain's defensive doctrine. This engagement highlights the delicate balance between human instinct and technological capability. The gunner's instincts guided the precise operation of mechanical artillery. The weapons engineering amplified human skill, but without clear thought, coordination, and composure, it could not achieve such results. It was a testament to how individuals, when properly trained and supported, can shape the outcome of conflict in ways that transcend raw numbers or firepower alone. Beyond the tactical victory, the event shaped morale, confidence, and strategy. British crews across the southern coast understood that vigilance and disciplined action could repel even aggressive enemy tactics. German forces, confronted with the efficiency and precision of Britain's coastal gunners, were forced to adjust their approaches. The engagement became a microcosm of a broader truth: preparedness and skill create leverage, turning moments of extreme danger into opportunities for decisive defense. There is a human story embedded in every shell fired, every target calculated, and every split-second decision made under pressure. The gunners' focus, courage, and clarity exemplify the qualities demanded by war. In cinematic clarity, these moments reveal the intimate connection between individual resolve and national defense, between training and history. Ultimately, the encounter at Dover stands as a reminder that history is shaped not only by grand strategies and mass movements but by individual decisions made with precision and courage. The legacy of that day is enduring. It demonstrates how skill, preparation, and resolve can turn the tide in mere seconds, protecting lives, shaping strategy, and leaving a mark on the broader narrative of Britain's wartime experience.